Time to rally. We've got the Champion in reverse, Achievement, and Downfall. And in the booklet, it talks about stagnation in this position, but I was more interested in the renewing the belief in oneself, which might be kind of challenging. We are halfway through our anti-hero's journey, and this is the approach stage with the Virgo archetype, which I think is very appropriate for that phase. And then we're getting ready to go to the ordeal with Leo. And so Virgo, being very organized in systems, and that'd be making your list and checking it twice. In this card, though, there's also a lot of spiritual and religious imagery. We've got the stigmata on the hands and then the eye, but it really reminds me of Thundercats. And what was his name? The lion. Leonidas? Can't remember if that was actually his name or not. But when he put it in front of his face and he did like the second sight thing, that might be trying to divinate into the next stage, into the ordeal, or just trying to ensure that you're prepared, which can get a little shadowy for Virgo. This might get into like rumination and overthinking, but I wanted to get some charms out to see if we can get a little more information on, hello, if we can get some more information on maybe what we need for the ordeal. This is kind of a, we're already in it. We've already crossed the threshold. We're in the, like the Hunger Games prep room or the gladiator hallway. Like we're about to hit the arena. So let's see. Maybe that's the emphasis on the spiritual gifts, because I got Uranus. It actually did stay on the 12th house this time, and Gemini, which I was kind of reading as either a 2 or an 11, depending on if you're reading that in Roman or Arabic. Because in the dice roll in the last reading, when I went to set it down, it flipped from 12 to 1, and now we're on 12. So I'm wondering if this is that kind of, like you see horses do it. They kind of pull back and then they go forward a lot faster. And Uranus, that's that revolutionary energy. And in the 12th house, that is a house of spirituality. The house of spirituality. So let's see what we got. I already see 3 A's and 2 N's. And it had occurred to me, I associate AA and AAA to these letters, but there's also, it's an abbreviation for like aggravated assault. Oh, and 2 I's. So a lot of duplicates. Illusion energy. And then that Gemini. We usually talk about, or hear about rather, Gemini as this two-faced sign, but nobody ever really talks about Pisces in that way, in that kind of dualistic nature, even though Aphrodite, the goddess of love and war, is one of the fish in that constellation. And so I don't necessarily see two-faced as being a bad thing here. It's just more like dualism. Another A and another N. None? Where's that clock chimes? Maybe you want to get some Indian food for dinner? It does sound good. V, S, little variants. L, Y, sly. Vi, E, yeet. Oh, there's the second. Maybe there's a T. D, yeed. Day, but spelled kind of wrong. And another E. A lot of repeats. The blank one, chaos, and another E. I wonder. I keep these ones together. Where'd the other N go? So another I and V. There's an empty slot. It's reminding me of, it's like word puzzles that are in a little contained thing, and you have one open space and you can kind of slide them around. I think there's also shape puzzles like that too. But so A is the first letter, so four ones. So I don't know if there's some sort of pattern or cipher to that. All these repeats and then the number of the alphabet that they are. And I did mention Roman and Arabic. We use the Greek alphabet, and I was referencing Arabic numerals. A lot of, what's the word? Etymology? Origins of words. An anchor. Feeling tied down. Maybe that's nautical energy, referencing Pisces. This is nice. A big star charm. The fairy in the middle. Kind of calling me back to the star charm from the last reading that had a little spotlights on it. Except that'd be like Tinkerbell being in the spotlight. She must have the attention. A red leaf. So root. Foundations. Pumpkin. Transformation. Another fairy tale reference to Cinderella. What is this? So it looks like two people on a bike, but not like a tandem bike. And I guess usually when you see that in like movies and such, they're usually sitting on the handlebar instead of both piled up on the seat. A silver, this looks like a feather. Silver feather. And a gold leaf. Silver and gold. Two slightly different, but still very similar. Orange. Sacral. Creative energy. I see another red. Another red leaf. It's like a maple leaf. Tower of Pumpkins. So transformation, like the tower. Oh, and a second one. More that mirror energy, the same little pumpkin tower. Big transformation. And I mean, that's the kind of the deal with either a hero or an anti-hero's journey. It's fancy. Fox, it looks like. The floofy tail, I mean, it could be a cat. Another orange leaf. That one's more muted than the other, which was more ornate. Trying to dim your creativity. And we've got a starfish. And I think they regenerate their limbs. It's a form of transformation. Rhinoceros. Brought to mind, what is it, the white rhinos that have like a team of, they're like wildlife officers, protecting the rhino from poachers. But another red, so 3 reds, so more repeating. Repeating red, repeating orange, first and second. Horse, which equines were a big theme in the last reading. a bug, nondescript. Looks like it flies. It's got wings. Another gold leaf, but this one's more spiky. Again, similar but different. And another pumpkin. So lots of transformation themes. And then a seashell. Sally sells seashells by the seashore. Something about articulation. Maybe someone has a bit of a lisp. Some sort of speech thing. Like, I've got brain stuff with words. I struggle with words and S's sometimes. Especially during peak migraine season, which is being alive, basically. It's peak migraine season. Let's see. So repeating. I wonder, is this like to mess with memory in some way? 12th house, house of illusions. Repeat something so many times and just slightly modify details so that, I don't know, like gaslighting. And. Yeah. Or nah. So what about the champion? And the approach. Alchemy? Okay. That's a fancy card. This is the Dark Moon Oracle from Moonology. And it's card 43, which combines down to a 7, and I see the Scorpion. So very fitting, very synchronous for this channel. And then we just left the Libra stage, so there's those scales. Phoenix Rising. Maybe the approach, it's all preparing you for the rubedo, the reddening. The Philosopher's Stone, magnum opus, a great work. Kind of did a 1-2 there from the reddening over into the great work. Because I don't know if that's exactly a 1-to-1. Can't remember. But I think the magnum opus was a result of all 4 stages being worked through. But what about rallying? Rallying with alchemy, maybe. Four of Swords. It was in reverse. And this is the Game of Thrones tarot. This Four of Swords, you can see they've got the stones on the eyes. It's like something being laid to rest. But not. Could be referencing some sort of, I don't know, I'm just looking at the religious imagery, like a near-death experience, some experience with gnosis. That could definitely help you rally in a seemingly hopeless situation, because the next stage isn't called the ordeal for nothing. It's definitely not a walk in the park. It's not even a walk in the park to get to the inner sanctum, to have an ordeal. It's like the King of Cups. Jon Snow. Near-death experience, yeah, okay. So maybe that resonates. Could also be an experience with like psychedelics. I know people describe death, that death type experience, death type transformation um, during like an ayahuasca ceremony. It also brought to mind the French word for orgasm, um, the little death. I can't remember what it actually is in French, but a connection with the divine, depending on how you look at things. Because some people, I don't know, I think that's the Puritan undertones, at least here in the States, that like sex is evil, sex is dirty, taboo. Hear a lot of people in tarot land talk about sex magic as if it's this inherently evil thing. I guess I'm just of the thinking that any system, any practice, it's about how you use it, not in and of itself. It's like a hammer is inherently nothing. It's inherently a tool. It doesn't have a moral compass. So what about the King of Cups? And maybe that's something that's part of this rallying stage, is getting comfortable with maybe things that you think that other people don't. That you're breaking away from this idea that certain things are taboo, that you just don't agree with that. Like, to each their own, you know. But maybe that's that Uranus energy from the dice roll. Revolutionary thought. Eccentricity or eccentricity. I don't quite know how to pronounce that word. I could look it up if I remembered, but so what about the King of Cups? That is many. Actually, I'm going to take those though, because I see 2 Daenerys. So we've got the Hermit, and that very much an emphasis on the second sight with Bran. And a Virgo card too for this stage, so emphasis there. And then we have the 2 of Spears and then the 6 of Spears in reverse. The 2 of Spears is preparing for a journey, and then 6 of Spears, that's the victory card, but it's in reverse. And this is one of my, if not my most favorite episode of Game of Thrones. This is when she's in, what is it, Marine? Where she reveals at the end of the episode that she actually spoke High Valyrian the whole time. So I wonder if in your prep stage, in your 2 of Spears, there's something like that. Some sort of hidden, like, second sight or a second language. Some sort of advantage that you want to keep to yourself. It's like the saying goes, all's fair in love and war. Because this is an anti-hero's journey, and I mean, did anybody really win anything in Game of Thrones on honor? I don't know. Maybe Brienne of Tarth. End of sentence. So, what about, I want to know more about this 2 of Swords and 6 of Spears. What's something you might want to, I don't know, keep to yourself? Let's see. The Guide in reverse. Inheritance, correction. And I always notice the keys on this. So it's like Hecate, the crossroads. Inheritance and correction. Is this like playing dumb? Like you don't know which way to go, but like you know how to navigate fully in the dark. Like you're a full-on cat and you can see in the dark. Like a lion. Maybe. And the bell, it's kind of giving me... Like if you were the guide and you were trying to be tricky about something for a reason, trying to survive the ordeal, feel like everybody in the group can hear, but only you can see. It's like keeping that sight to yourself. Sorry about that. I had spicy tuna for lunch, and my nose has been running ever since. So what about the guide? And then something slightly off. Something about musical notes? I mean, A and E. Is that right? Oh, what is coming to mind? The scale. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la. I think I'm going the opposite way too. Scale. Progression. There's a doorway in that card. Find balance. Scales. Scales, scales, scales. Something about scales. Justice. Balance. And there's white feathers. They might be a little hard to see if they were gray in this. And this light behind her, it looks kind of like a halo. And her eyes are closed. So it's like she can both see and hear, even though her eyes are closed. But her arms are off kilter, where this is even on the other scale. It's like letting things be out of balance by being misunderstood, like purposefully. Like what Daenerys did with them not figuring out that she's a Targaryen, I guess. Probably made a lot of sense in retrospect. Like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Well, for the people that made it. Well, what about this fine balance? And that Gemini symbol that has that kind of balance design to it too. Very even, equal. I feel like a lot of the cards today are just sliding over my hand, over my left hand. The Devil. Well, that'll keep you out of balance. So the Devil. Ramsay Bolton. When I thought Joffrey couldn't get exceeded, as it were. He was pretty brutal. And I don't know if we just got to see more of him. He was also older, had more finesse to his psychopathy than Joffrey did. Joffrey was still a budding, spoiled psychopath. Ramsay, he came up like from the bottom. He was a bastard. Totally different background. Still malicious AF, and I'm seeing the two torches, so some of that Hecate emphasis. The crossroads. But the approach stage, it'd be like the crossroads, but you only have one way to go. Like, you can't really turn back. You can camp out in front of the big evil castle that somehow every time you look up at it, there's lightning. Or maybe the tower. And there's chains, but there's no other people actually in this card like there usually is. He has a tendency to dispense with people, though. So we've got King of Swords, the Night King. It's like Bran's nemesis. Three of Coins and Ace of Coins. Is it you versus 3 for the ordeal? Maybe. Because that 3 of Coins, they were rebuilding this, the scene that this is from. And they essentially got, like, ransacked. And the Hound moved on very unceremoniously. I think he took provisions because he was the only one left. And then on his way. But maybe that's the unbalance in the scales. There's like another person or force. It's like, and I mean, maybe that third is you. So there's some sort of interconnectedness, some degree of closeness to whomever's going to be involved in the ordeal. And is everyone after the same Ace of Coins? Maybe. And both of these characters were like big baddies, respective big forces of evil in the show, or big forces of antagonism. I would argue that Ramsay Bolton was evil. He definitely proved that through his actions. I don't necessarily believe he was inherently evil. Even the Night King went through a major transformation, and that transformation was fueled by, I think, a lot of violence and oppression. I was going to say Children of the Corn, Children of the Forest. Can't remember if their intention was like a protector. I think so. Never a bad time to go back and watch it. So what about, because this could also be, it's not the elixir. Is it the gift? What stage is that? The reward after the ordeal. But the reward isn't necessarily like what we might expect it to be. Like the elixir, yeah. But this is like the one, oh, what was the special coin? The one for Bravos? I think it was. The no-name guy. I think he had a name. Started with a J, I think. But it's like this coin isn't necessarily for money, for tender. It's like for entry into the inner sanctum. Something like that. Like, I don't know. The Three of Coins, it's almost giving me like a club or something. Some sort of words. There's the brain stuff with words. Significator? It's not the right. Signifier. There we go. But this is just a, like, I like the heavy coins to have something to fidget with. But this could be, like a AA coin or an NA coin. Narcotics Anonymous. Something that, like, you know how villains have a signature, like, thing? They, you know, it's them. Something like that. Like, that person always does that thing. There's something unique about the Ace of Coins, whatever it is. So what about this Ace of Coins? That could be this approach stage. This could be the Virgo archetype, like going over, I don't know, the psychological profiles of the other two involved. Did I miss anything? Is there anything two-faced about them? The Herald? Is that another word for, like, Hierophant? Maybe. Small regrets, longing. And then the King in reverse. Control and reversal of fortune. So maybe this is the spiritual aspect, like leaning into that, the second sight, rather than the sword. Because both of these cards, the Champion and the King, have a sword on them, and they're broken. It's like a broken oath. So, Three of Coins, two swords. You're like the third sword, the Ace of Swords. The unbroken. The unburnt. The world's longest Starbucks cup. So the Herald. This is giving me a very nature. I almost want to say apothecary more than like a druid. The rabbit and the snakes. So it's like being unable to stop the progression of the Herald. Which maybe that's you in this. So what about not being able to stop the third party? And, like, third according to whom? I hear that phrase a lot in tarot land. I think that's usually, it's like referring to a mistress. But, I don't know, it might be some sort of giving something proprietary of yours to somebody else. Like intellectual theft. I don't know if it would exactly be like insider trading, but it's something out of line. Introspection. And there's another snake. So now we have 3 snakes. So maybe you're the third snake, and they're not expecting that. They were expecting a hare, a rabbit, and there's actually another snake. It's that hidden nature. You speak High Valyrian and didn't tell anybody, even though it should have been painfully obvious, but it's not. Like if you're in a position like that, what are you gonna do? Remind them? No. It's a big snake too. It looks like a much bigger snake than the other two combined. It kind of looks like the head almost looks like a Komodo dragon. Like a big one. And she's looking down, kind of shielding herself with that snake. And so it's not like it's actually part of her nature, but like shadow that she can call on. I'm almost getting like a summoner. So what about this introspection? The Fool in reverse. And there's the dragon. I like this scene. It was bold. Walking into the dragon dungeon where... When was the last time they were fed? Before he walked in there. This is like the non-starter of expecting you to be a hare and you are actually another snake, or maybe you're both. And they just weren't expecting that other side of your nature, your shadow. Maybe this could be like black and white thinking that you're up against. I was talking about how people think of sex as taboo, will villainize it, especially if it's a woman, exercising her free will and agency and not cheating on anybody, not doing anything wrong. Like, who cares? Mind your business. Like, why so pressed about what somebody else is doing? Do they feel rejected? Maybe. I don't know. Regulate your emotions. Leave that woman alone. But this could be people that have, like, only this goes in this lane. Only cars go in the car lane, trucks go in the truck lane. No, doesn't matter if the car needs to get off on that exit. No, they have to wait for the next available car exit, which is arbitrary and dumb. So something like that, that maybe they fear their own shadow because they haven't integrated it. They haven't actually done shadow work. Maybe they're using the words without actually understanding the depth of what those words carry behind them. So then they villainize you being able to lean on your shadow as needed. Because, like, what are you supposed to get through the ordeal? By being demure? Mindful? No. It's by being crafty and cunning. Using feminine wiles. Because you can use those if you're a man. Might take a bit more... depending on how in touch oneself is with that yin side, might need a little more training in the prep room, maybe in the approach. Maybe we're camping out at the crossroads, getting ready to go over to the ordeal and are maybe role-playing. And we've got 9 of Swords, the World in reverse, and 3 of Cups, another 3. So, Nine of Swords. This is another grim scene. Right outside the Red Wedding. This was Robb Stark's wolf. Dire wolf. And that was definitely one of those episodes I sat there in stunned silence. And I think it ended in silence, maybe, or very soft violins in the credits. But they really knew well when to just, like, no sound for the credits. So, maybe this is feeling caged, trapped. It's like not being able to jump in when you want to. This is almost like being benched. Because something isn't over yet. The World in reverse. And Three of Cups. This would be like waiting until whoever your antagonists are in your anti-hero's journey, waiting for them to get all liquored up to make your move. Maybe it's, I don't know, sexpionage. To each their own. Depends on what's going on, you know. If you are having to save your tail, like, what can you do? I think that's one of those things that, those topics, I'm just going to give a trigger warning ahead of this, because we're veering off a little bit, but I've seen in online discourse recently people starting to open up the nuance of why didn't she leave? Well, because she was trapped. And it's not always the right moment to get away. And sometimes you have to do things you don't want to do in order to survive. And for one, a lot of those comments are probably coming from bots. So I think that's first and foremost. But second of all, I think people are not fully appreciative of their privilege to even be asking that question of why didn't you just leave? You need resources. You need somewhere to go. Because financial abuse isn't just keeping money out of your hands. They could have trashed your credit. How are you going to get an apartment? How are you going to leave? That's a major, major problem. That people outside of that situation, rather than using their critical thinking skills, going, maybe I should just ask if they're willing to share their experience. Not ask, like, close-ended questions, like, why didn't you do this? Why are you asking questions like that with an expectation that that was an option? Like, where is that expectation coming from? Ignorance? Which, derogatory or not, on the connotation, maybe they just don't know and are bad at asking open-ended questions. Kind of gotta gauge. Maybe some of these uncomfortable conversations are happening over alcohol? Could be. Because I've had some very, very insensitive things said to me about past experiences people were not there for. So what... I wonder... Because it's like there's a little bit of a shift. So we've been following this theme of somebody trying to block the Aquarian energy, but now there's all this subversive energy. So maybe it's realizing the approach, taking that pause before going into the ordeal, is knowing you need a different approach in order to get out. because maybe you've tried something a bit more overt, and it could even be inadvertently, like being a human and losing your temper at somebody who's abusing you. Go figure. People get so twisted up about that. Like, excuse us for reacting to horrible and horrific things. Jeez. You're expecting, like, sainthood and to be a monk while actively being abused. That's an insane expectation. So what? Tell me more about this subversion. Maybe that's that illusion energy. Because I was thinking the illusion was coming at you. And maybe it's like a little column A, a little column B. Because Bolton, he was not upfront necessarily about his nature. Depending on who you were, you got a different Ramsay Bolton. And that's very much how abuse works. Like when people are asking questions like, or making statements, well, they weren't abusive towards me. Yeah, because that would break their cover. I bet there are statistics on this. I just don't know them offhand. Probably the majority of abuse doesn't leave bruises. And I think there's, like, you have Hollywood to thank for that mischaracterization of abusive dynamics and such. And I think it's improving, like, we're seeing more nuance. But there's a long way to go. And there's all the things we don't know. Because all of the controlling and abusive antagonistic personalities that go towards positions of control, i.e. medicine, people who are writing diagnostic manuals, do we think we're getting the full story? I think Dr. Karen Mitchell, her book, I don't have that, but I saw her post recently. She was talking about behaviors that aren't even listed in the DSM for things that we would recognize as, like, sociopathy, psychopathy, all that. I'll take the bottom one. The Shepherd, Celebration and Family, and that was in reverse. And there's that summoning kind of vibe. Because the hands are kind of, it's almost like the skull in the middle is suspended in a way. Well, what else about this Shepherd? Celebration, and I mean that would be the Three of Cups, so not a celebration. Oh, maybe somebody celebrated too early about a new beginning? It's kind of giving me, you're locked in here with me too. That the ordeal, you're not the only one that's going to be going through an ordeal. You know, it's an anti-hero's journey. I think there's probably more shadow, more maybe even ruthlessness in defending oneself in that, because I think in the typical hero trope, they could also be somebody who hasn't fully integrated their shadow, not to the same depth that an anti-hero would. And they can get consumed by the darkness that they don't know. And that's what I think makes the anti-hero so dangerous and powerful, is that they know their darkness. They know they won't get consumed by it. It's not like staring off into the edge of the abyss, or what is it? Is it Nietzsche? Careful when fighting monsters, lest ye become one. Something like that. He also has that quote about the abyss, but the anti-hero has already been pulled down by the collar, dragged along the ocean floor in the abyss. So when it's time for shadow, when it's time to toe that line, they're swan diving into the abyss because they've already been there. Maybe that's that near-death experience from earlier in the read. Because I feel like it definitely... There's a before and after Jon Snow. For sure. And I know that was my experience with my NDE. Like, not all of me came back. Definitely a before and after point in my life. Here we go. Agency. Free will. That's a cool card. It's making me think of the eclipse that's coming up. That's going to be a full moon. Full moon lunar eclipse. Full moon in Aquarius. Right? Or is it Pisces? I think it's in Pisces. And it's right next to an asteroid that there's going to be a conjunction. It starts with an F. It's not formal. It looks like formalt. I don't know, I was watching Adam Ellenboss, his video on that this morning. Nightlight astrology. So what about agency? And it's not quite the same strain as Atlas under the globe. It's a more the summoner, the conjurer. They're not using physical force to move celestial bodies for cosmic force. Oh, geez. Guess I'm taking all those. Five of Cups. So grief. Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Two of Cups in reverse. And Seven of Swords. Interesting cards. Because that is Cersei. And I think after she had lost all of her kids. And there's the Three of Cups knocked over. And then the Two of Cups, but it's reversed over here. So it's like losing community, losing intimate relationships. And maybe that's what the other two snakes are going through. Maybe they were a couple. Could be. And then Wheel of Fortune. That's my Nemesis card. So it's like she hasn't made her move yet. It's almost like the pieces are coming together for that to happen. Because Seven of Swords, Samwell Tarly, he's so out of place here. With, is that the sword he gave Jon Snow? Maybe? Or Jorah. I think it was Jorah. But normally a card of strategy, stealing swords from the other camp so they don't have them for the battle in the morning. But this was kind of him staking his claim, staking his agency, that this sword is mine, it is to my namesake, and I'll do with it what I will. And he gave it to a warrior. And he always knew He was meant to be more of the, was it the Maester in the Citadel? But he still had a claim to that. Nobody had any right to take that from him. It was his to decide what happened to it. And maybe that has broken some bond. Something important was taken. Shepherd card mentions family. And if I recall, you can see the other 6 swords here on the wall. That was his final meeting with his blood family. Then he was off to the rest of his life. And there were definitely ordeals after that. That wasn't like the end of the show. There was still a lot more to go. But it's like something's collapsing. Maybe referencing those pumpkin towers. Transformation. And then the ordeal. Maybe that's like the final push to bring the tower fully down. Because this is like breaking the chains, breaking the bonds that was holding this, I don't know, the 3 of Pentacles and the 3 of Cups, holding that all together. Finally, maybe revealing the shadow, revealing that second nature, going into the ordeal. Because the ordeal is a big deal. So that could be what we are rallying around here at like a crossroad pause point, like a checkpoint. Before moving into the inner sanctum, is getting comfortable with needing to lean on our dark side, kind of having to not be naive about what we're about to walk into, or even what kind of ordeal we're about to incite. Because I don't know the full context of everybody's situation, you know. But standing up for yourself, that can definitely be an escalation point. Even when everybody knows you're doing the right thing. You're standing up for yourself because you got wronged. But some people's egos, especially him, Bolton, the devil, are so out of control, so grandiose, that it is a cardinal sin that you would dare stand to them. They have every entitlement to abuse you, because that's how their brain works, because that's how they rationalize the world. We all live in their delusion. They are the center of the universe. They get to wipe their shoes off on whomever they deem an unfit human, or maybe even subhuman. And the champion and the king, like, they're making real, tangible choices about that affect the proverbial kingdom. Whether that they're actually in charge of something, or it's just their immediate, like, friend group, relationship, family, maybe. It's like, why wouldn't you stand up to this? Man-Eater. It's a good game. Speaking of checkpoints. I think I got all 5 like special armor sets on this, but it's like if bee horror was a video game, because you get to be a shark, a bull shark. I thought it was a great white shark at first, but then I got more into the game. It kind of makes sense that it's a bull shark. I think this was a one-hit wonder, though. I don't see any reason for it not to be. I really enjoyed it. Really unique game. It kind of reminded me of Echo the Dolphin. That was one I played when I was younger on like Sega. And even Dreamcast too. That one was really good. But some sort of aquatic theme, because there were aquatic charms, and we've talked about Pisces. So maybe just some gaming is in order. I know it's been my focus. I'm trying to focus on improving my focus. And actually, Reacher got my attention quite a bit. I'm on the second season now. Usually I'll get into a show for a bit, and I really like it, and then something else will happen, and I'll do something else. So, maybe something a little more engaging that actually keeps you facing forward and engaged fully. Because when you calm the mind, that helps you make better like game day decisions as you go into the ordeal. So overall, I hope this helps. I hope this resonates, and if it doesn't, I hope the next one does. Thank you so much.